Okay, so the preparation time has ended. Speakers, please turn on your cameras so that we can begin. Make sure everyone is renamed based on the team. So before we can start the debate, the speakers for Team Lang must state their speaker position. And also the speakers for Kerabat UIA must state their speaker positions. Can you please put your full name? Okay. All right, for Team UIA, can I have your speakers role? Can you give me a second? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Okay, so good morning to the honorable educators, lecturers, debaters, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start our debate today, please mute your microphones to ensure that there will be no disturbance to the floor of this debate. I would like all participants to turn on their cameras for this conversation. I am Sarah Etna and I will be the chairperson for this debate session. Meanwhile, Nur Shahida will be the timekeeper for this debate. This House would like to call upon the motion that this House believes that artificial intelligence (AI) should govern and oversee the country of Malaysia. Now I would like to clarify the rules and regulations of this debate competition. For the substantive speech, the timekeeper will ring the bell at the end of the first minute to show that point of information POI can now be delivered. The timekeeper will ring once at the beginning of 6 minutes to show that time for POI is over. The timekeeper will ring twice at the 7th minute, after which the speaker has 15 seconds to conclude their speech. Then the timekeeper will ring continuously to show that the time is over and any further explanation will not be taken into account. After both sides have presented their speeches, 3 minutes will be given to each team to prepare for their reply speeches. The opposition side will present their reply speech first, followed by the government side. Reminder, no new arguments and POIs are to be presented in the reply speeches. For the reply speeches, the timekeeper will ring once at the end of third minute to indicate that the speaker has 1 minute left to conclude their speech. And the timekeeper will ring twice at the fourth minute, in which the speaker has 10 seconds to conclude. Finally, the timekeeper will ring continuously to indicate that the time is over. So all debaters are expected to have a reliable and good internet connection during this debate. Shall there be any unavoidable circumstances where debaters lose connection during the speech, 5 minutes will be granted for debaters to regain their connection. If debaters fail to gain connection within the 5 minutes, marks will be given according to how far they presented before the connection was lost. The sound check will be done now as I announce the speakers of each team. When your name is called, please test your microphones to ensure you are audible. Please inform the committee if there are any problem or technical issues. So we start from Team Lang from Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah, which will be acting as the government team. We start with Ms. Hayani as the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Farah as the Deputy Prime Minister.
Yes.
And Ms. Shred Ying as the government whip.
Yes.
Okay. Then we have Kerabat UIA from IIUM will be acting as the opposition team for this debate with Mr. Salban as the opposition leader.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Hanina as the deputy leader of opposition.
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Ismail as the opposition whip.
Hello.
Thank you very much. I shall now introduce our adjudicators, Mr. Shanaf Daniel and Ms. Sneha Verma. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I call upon the Prime Minister, Ms. Hayani, to open the case for the government. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. On today's motion, as the government side, this House believes that AI should govern and oversee the country of Malaysia. AI can be defined as artificial intelligence, also known as AI, is a wide-ranging branch of computer science concerned with building smart machines capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. Govern also can be defined as conduct the policy, actions, and affairs on a state, organization, or people. Oversee is meaning is supervise or to watch or organize a job or an activity to make certain that is being done correctly. We believe that AI should govern and oversee the country of Malaysia. Today, I, as the Prime Minister, will talk about the ways to implement AI. Then, my Deputy Prime Minister will talk about AI benefits to the economy. Moving on to my first point is provide software with artificial intelligence capabilities for more intelligent and automated solutions such as machine learning and computer vision, natural language processing, forecasting and optimizing, data management, visualization, deployment, and decision support for different environments and cater to ever-changing business needs. Thank you. That's all for me.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Prime Minister. The Prime Minister spoke for 1 minute and 57 seconds. Next, let us invite the opposition leader, Mr. Salban, to state the opposition's objections with regards to today's motion.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This House denies and does not support AI that should govern and oversee the country of Malaysia. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, these three representatives from Polytechnic are fighting a losing battle to begin with. But before that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning I bid to all, very honorable of judges and precise timekeeper, amazing opponent on the side of government, worthy comrades on the side of opposition, and not to forget members of this beautiful house. I'm going to do two things today. First, I'm going to rebut whatever case has been brought up by the side of the Prime Minister. Second, I will provide the problematic argument from the opposition. Let's take a look what has been defined by the Prime Minister. One thing to overlook on is that she's failed to elucidate us the definition, the parliamentary system that we use in Malaysia. You terribly to explain at the very first place on how does Malaysia government operate and what parliamentary system do we use, because by understanding this, it will direct our argument today. What a shame, my dear comrades. But before you support the motion, you need to prove to us why we should support AI to govern Malaysia. What type of AI to be a president or to govern and to oversee Malaysia? Why are you supporting AI when they haven't have the capability to surpass human capability? And how are you so sure that it is safe for AI to govern Malaysia as a whole? And when will your far-fetched dream will be attained? First thing first, you have to outline that. Hence, let me take your job. A parliamentary democracy system in Malaysia that we use today is that Malaysia practice parliamentary democracy with constitutional monarchy. His Majesty the King is the head of state. Parliament is the most important institution in the country which practice the principle of democracy. Moving on to my next task, I want to signpost my team structure. What will I do today and what will my comrades do? I'm going to provide an argument under the key phrase of human capabilities. My second speakers we'll talk about human bias and cyber attack, and my whip will sums up and rebut all problematic argument from the government. Ladies and gentlemen, why AI cannot govern a Malaysia country? Because of the cultural and creativity skills. What is cultural? Cultural skill is ability of a person to effectively interact, work, and develop meaningful relationship with people of various cultural backgrounds. What is creativity skill? Ability to use the imagination to generate new ideas. All right. Humans are embodied with a self-born natural cultural value. Culture is not made up, but something that evolves, which is human. That was a quote by Edward T. Hall. The quote above simply highlights the source of culture comes from within humanity. It is something that even machine and androids will not be able to interpret without its source themselves, the power of human. It all comes up to the point that we are going back to where we takes place simply by accepting the fact that humans are the culprit of modernization, defeat the power of machine and artificial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot deny the fact that even with independent AI, the data sets for them to interpret is insufficient enough to understand the deep understanding of our human culture, hence sets a setback to the AI. AI as unable to understand the cultural values are the epitome of how the universe will not progress. Members of the floor, we can't deny the fact that every field in the world, culture values plays a huge role. No matter how modern and futuristic that field is, they will go back towards the cultures, ethics, and moral values. This is something futile that artificial intelligence or machines can take part and cannot govern Malaysia as a whole. As a role leader is to preserve the nation ethics, right? Ladies and gentlemen, even in a small circle in society, we will always refer to our cultural ethics. Even so, up to the leader of a nation, artificial intelligence might be a well-knowing, but they fall short to imperfect just as human when it comes to cultural values. Do you think, is it worth to sacrifice the value of culture just to praise the machine and just to let the machine govern Malaysia? The answer is within yourself. That's why we believe that AI That's why we believe that AI should not govern Malaysia. Second, humans are adverse in cognitive thinking and emotion rational. Emotion are not just a feeling. It forms the basis of our decision and not just how to act, but who to trust. Emotion lies at its center. If a brand priorities the emotional connection, they can open a consumer to new ideas, drive behavior, and establish trust. From the above quote, a human proves that emotions are an act of creativity that only living beings can master. Even our brain is equipped with a specific mapping motion skill, which is the right side of the brain, with help of the analytical skills from our left side of the brain. It completes the rationalism of decision making where no other being other than humans are capable of. Ladies and gentlemen, we always underappreciate the value of emotion. We always see that being emotional is some kind of an issue. Little do you know that emotion are the one making your decision even much more realistic than just thinking about it. The process of thinking is have put emotion into play, yet we glorify machine that does not even understand how we are feeling today. That is why we stay input with our point that AI should not govern or oversee the Malaysia as a whole. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Salvan. The opposition leader spoke for 6 minutes and 58 seconds. To continue our debate today, I call upon the Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Farah, to counter the opposition's arguments.
Thank you to Mr. Speaker, and hello, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to rebut opposition leader, which he mentioned that we should consider the cultural and activities view. Okay, so first, we need to think that because of this pandemic COVID-19, our Malaysian economy because of this pandemic COVID-19, our Malaysian economy is starting to collapse, and we should find the ways to elevate the economy to the worldwide stage. Okay, first, let me move on to my first point. Okay, which is artificial intelligence, as known as AI, is everywhere, making its way into various facets of our daily life without us even knowing it, from banking to manufacturing industries, and even simple things like the autocorrect features and chatbots that we regularly encounter. AI has played a big role in shaping our society today. In time, more and more devices will come with the ability of grasp, contextualize, and recognize images, acquire and build knowledge through deep learning, and teach themselves how to comprehend speech and understand us when we communicate with or using AI. Industry analysts and government believe that AI can be a great transformer for both industry analysts and government believe that AI can be a great transformer for both developed and developing economies. Okay, then research by Accenture on the impact of AI in 12 developed countries conclude that AI has the potential to double annual economic growth by 2035. Similarly, research by PwC showed that global GDP could be up to 14% higher in 2030 as a result of AI. This is an equivalent making it the biggest commercial opportunity in today's fast-changing economy. Okay, next, moving to my second point. There are tremendous to Malaysia economic and productivity gains resulting from AI. First, according to McKinsey, 50% of work time in Malaysia is spent on repetitive activities that are highly automatable. AI can automate routine tasks, augment employees' capabilities and allow time to focus on more stimulating works and higher value adding work. With increased automation, AI can potentially create 6 million new jobs by 2030 in Malaysia, and this future of work will create new needs for skill and long-term learning in nearly every part of the workforce. So, we as government believes that AI should govern and oversee the country of Malaysia. That's all. Thank you. I will raise my case.
Thank you, Ms. Farah. The Deputy Prime Minister spoke for 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Next, I would like to call upon the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Ms. Halina.
All right. Good morning to honorable speakers, precious timekeepers and the members of the debate. So before I start presenting my points, I would like to rebut everything that the Prime Minister have pointed out, which is she mentioned that she wanted to provide a software and automated AI and such, but she did not explain how the software should be implemented and the rest of the description. And the AI cannot alter their responses to changing environment. That is the basic premise of AI itself. So whenever there's changes on the input, artificial intelligence need to be reassessed, retrained, and rebuilt. AI-based software programs require frequent upgrades in order to adapt and changing environment. And Prime Minister need to know about AI facts that when the AI suffers severe breakdown and process of recovering lost code and reinstalling the system can give you nightmares due to huge time and cost involved. And I would like to explain why AI is not capable on govern the Malaysia, because human itself is the one that created AI. Thus, they are capable to alter the whole pipeline of artificial intelligence itself. Artificial intelligence tend to have human biases. The creation of AI itself is from human. They can be programmed or labeled to be biased or such. And I will give you examples or fact from Amazon and LinkedIn, where there are quick tools that show bias against women. When the women apply for job applications, the AI that filters the job application quickly declined or just execute their job applicants, thus making the recruiters or the artificial intelligence itself believe there's no such thing as qualified women. And one thing you need to understand why such thing happen is because artificial intelligence only reinforce and strengthen biases in the human who use them and in the people who use them. And the second example I can give you is from the Google company itself, where the leader of artificial intelligence, Jeff Dean, is a racist towards Black women, where a Black woman called Timmy Gabriel was fired in her own field, which is she's also an expert and work under Jeff Dean, where the AI itself fired her. It's not Jeff Dean, but Jeff Dean programmed the AI so that the AI can be biased and quickly remove her from the system. And if we wanted to make and if you wanted to apply softwares and such, you need to remember that AI is or a virtual representation is the hackers or malwares can just easily took over everything online. And this shows that obvious sense of threat that the citizens and country might have. Thus, this shows that AI is very vulnerable to cyber attacks. We need to understand that wars or terrorism or threats can be online too. Thus, implementing AI as to govern is not a good idea. Unlike traditional cyber attacks that are caused by bugs or human mistakes in codes, AI attacks are enabled by inherent limitation in the underlying AI algorithms that currently cannot be fixed. That is why I said that implementing software is not a good idea. Data can also be weaponized in new ways using those attacks, requiring change in the way data is collected, stored, and used. And what if the cyber attack was objected to destroy the current artificial intelligence that was governed by Malaysia? What will happen to the whole government? And won't that make the whole point from the government is weak? Not only more money is needed to fix the damages, but even the issue inside the country itself is not fixed. So thus we reject that AI should be governing Malaysia. Thus I raise my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanina. The deputy leader of opposition spoke for 5 minutes and 14 seconds. Next, I would like to call upon the government leader, Ms. Xuan Yun. The floor is yours.
Okay, hello, Mr. Speaker, sir, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the third speaker from government side. I have a few points that I find to oppose the opposition side. The first one is the opposition side say about AI and cultural value. But my point is cultural competency allow the opportunity to enhance the conversation AI movement in unprecedented ways. Leveraging culture foster a stronger sense of belonging and inclusion. This belonging and inclusion has the potential to be profit from by product manufacturer if they care more about it and throw in terms of culturally inclusive innovation solution. For example, imagine a smart refrigerator with built-in AI that was intelligent enough to pick up on a person's essence. Through its learning and understanding of cultural competence, the refrigerator will recommend meals that are within or closely associated to cuisines from that person, region, ethnicity, or overall culture. Then the second point is the first speaker said that AI don't have the creativity thinking. As we know, the art is neither creativity thinking. I will prove that AI gives creativity in many ways. For example, it can order existing art, such as the case when it made the Mona Lisa a living portrait, as a Harry Potter create likeness that appear to be real humans, and it can be found on the website. This person does not easy copy and even create original work of art. In fact, we are from the government side team strongly disagree this portion. I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Xuan Yun. The opposition leader spoke for 1 minute and 55 seconds. Now I would like to give the floor for the government leader, Mr. Ismail.
Opposition.
Sorry, the opposition. Sorry.
Right. Give me a minute. Okay. Okay, start. Greetings and a very good morning, I bid to ladies and gentlemen, my fellow team members, my fellow opponents, precious timekeepers, Mrs. Speaker, and of course, our wise educators for today. Ladies and gentlemen, as a third speaker from the opposition side, I will now do a few things to end this motion for today. Firstly, I will be focusing on our clashing points along with my rebuttal. Secondly, I'll move on to my summary. And lastly, I will give you reasons on why we from the opposition side deserves to win this motion for today. Well, let's take things back to the first round. Now, the Prime Minister from the opposition side, from the government side, has mentioned about the capabilities on AIs and the definitions of it. We applaud you and we accept the fact that AI, of course, it is a wide-ranging computer and require human intelligence to run it. However, Miss Prime Minister, allow me to say that when you mention about requiring human intelligence, which already contradicts to what you are capable of doing so, because if you want to govern the country of Malaysia, you need a reliable and independent AI to do such things, because we are governing a country, we are governing Malaysia, in fact, a country which runs a parliamentary system, which you unfortunately fail to explain, but it already has mentioned to the leader of opposition, so that should be a credit for us. And next, when you are mentioning about your points, now talking about the Prime Minister points and our leader of opposition points, there are some conflict happen between them. What I can see clearly that Prime Minister, she mentioned about the points about providing software for AI, about the AI can provide software for the automation data, which contributes in a lot of aspects, and most of them, they're explaining about the economical one, which I'll go later. But unfortunately, again, they failed to explain on how they would like to implement this software for the AI to govern a country and oversee them. So what happened was the leader of opposition, we mentioned about how AI lacks the cultural and creativity skills, which falls under the software department. Because firstly, the government side did not mention on how they would like to implement them and how can they explain about the cultural aspect and creativity aspect can contribute towards making this AI the one who should be responsible to govern country of Malaysia. Where leader of opposition from this side, we also mentioned about how cultural aspect is one of the important things human already has within themselves. It is complexity between the human languages and human understandings where AI are still incapable of doing so as of now. And when we are mentioning about the worst case scenario, where a situation human can establish, human is capable on establishing this new cultural aspect, while the AI are still in developments and research to overcome this barrier, because AI should help the human instead working for them. And now we can see that if, let's give a simple scenario, if a new cultural aspect has been established in Malaysia, then the AI would be conflicted to solve or to adapt with the new data sets, because they never experienced such data sets before. And what humans can do, they should be able to help this AI instead by inputting our cultural aspect, values, and the creativity skills that we have into this AI software, thus making the AI dependent more on human rather than we should let them govern the country. Ladies and gentlemen, the second point from the leaders of opposition, the deputy leader of opposition, our second speaker versus the deputy prime minister. There are not much going on since our second speaker has mentioned about how AI tend to human bias and how AI is also exposed to cyber security, while the human itself does not have these traits. Yes, humans tend to have human bias. However, human can overcome them by understanding each other. Sometimes there are conflicts, but there are also negotiations. There are also discussion on how to overcome that barrier. However, if AI do tend to have the human bias trait risk within themselves, how should they help? They instead need human at the end of the day. And when we are mentioning about cybersecurity, we can compare them to the second point from the Deputy Prime Minister, where she mentioned about how AI can shape our society. Ladies and gentlemen, in this scenario, we know that the AI, according to the Deputy Prime Minister, she mentioned how it is good for the economical aspect, and how would AI be implemented is unclear, unfortunately. Humans are already expert in this economical aspect. So by stating the fact that AI alone is good enough, that is not true under the justification that we from the opposition side still believe that human qualification has more than just in economical aspect. We already are governing a country. Even our prime minister is doing well. So taking our situation right now, which is the COVID situation, we can clearly see how the cases number are still in control. Thus, as a summary, we believe that we from the opposition side should win this motion for today under the statement of we still believe in our stand that human capabilities are surpassing the AI limits as of now. And we also provide some counter arguments regarding our points, which are humans are capable of implementing our cultural genuine expert value, which AI don't have. And we also mentioned about how AI is posing to the threat rather than humans does. So with that, I, from the whip of this motion for today, from the opposition side, I raise my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ismail. The opposition whip spoke for 7 minutes and 14 seconds. Now, 3 minutes will be given to both teams to prepare for their reply speeches, and the time starts now. All right, your 3 minutes is up. Ladies and gentlemen, this debate will resume with the reply speeches. Let us now invite our opposition team to sum up the case for today's debate.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, it is crystal clear that this House denies and does not support the AI should govern and oversee the country of Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, Deputy Prime Minister from government, I'm asking you, you are relating our current economy that is crumbling apart during COVID. Did you know what? By implementing AI, it drains the country investment and can be a threat to the economy of Malaysia. On government side, they fail to elucidate us what is the parliamentary system in Malaysia, what type of AI to be a president or to govern Malaysia. Why are you supporting so much AI when they haven't have the capability to surpass the human capability? How are you so sure that it's going to be safe to govern Malaysia? And when will your far-fetched dream will be attained? Let me reiterate back what is our points on the side of opposition. To govern Malaysia, you need a prime minister or someone who wants to govern Malaysia, the cultural and creativity skills. That cannot be attained by machine, dear comrades. It is a self-born. It evolves within the human to foresee the upcoming spontaneous scenario and to decide and to quickly execute the decision. We need that creativity skills and the cultural values. Plus, humans are adverse in cognitive thinking and emotion rational. Emotion are the one who making your decision even much more realistic than just by thinking about it. My deputy minister are talking about human bias and crime and cybercrime. For example, about LinkedIn and Amazon recruit tool to be biased the human, and Timid Gabriel, who is an expert in AI work and the leader was fired by AI program by Jeff Dean leader. And my whip sums up the argument and point out all the loopholes from the opposition surely justify that this House does not support AI and AI should not govern and oversee the country of Malaysia. Members of the floor and government, instead of we are making things complicated and trying too hard to making AI as a precedent to govern Malaysia, how about we make AI as the referral guidance analyzer for the president, which is less riskier yet fair for both human and AI. Here, human can be the president having human rationale, and AI can recheck precisely on the human rationale for the president to make a better decision. Let's say we are forcing AI to govern our beloved nation, how AI is supposed to receive and understand the issue brought up from the people, how AI is supposed to discuss and find solution with the Minister of Office if AI fails to overtake the rationale behind people's need and concern. While on the other hand, humans are there as an actual being to join the people, to have a social interaction, listen to concerns raised with the people themselves. Thus, we'll be able to actually be there to discuss and rational on the best decision that the government can come up with. Hence, this house have not moved an inch, and this House does not support AI, and AI should not govern and oversee the country of Malaysia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Salvan, for summing up the opposition team. Lastly, we welcome the government team to sum up their case for today's debate.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Speaker, sir, today I as the Prime Minister will sum this case up. But before that, we from the government side mentioned that artificial intelligence provides software for more capabilities and automated solution. We also have mentioned that AI tremendously can result to the economy. Even though we may not yet have true AI capable of deftly synthesizing language, but machine-based discovery is tantalizingly close as data scientists push the boundaries of what's possible with words and phrase embeddings that come out of deep learning models. This work will eventually give us the equivalent of a smart speed reading assistant capable of easily summarizing data and making recommendations. It won't be perfect, and there's still a lot of work to do, but the economic value it will deliver will be a game changer. Thank you. I will rest my case.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Haryani, for summing up the government's case. Ladies and gentlemen, with that marks the end of the debate today. Honorable adjudicators will be directed to another breakout room for 10 minutes to decide the winner of this debate.
Do I give my results now?
Oh, okay, so you're back. Okay, so now I would like to invite the honorable educators to announce the winners for today's debate, and you may give some feedbacks.
All right, cool. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so I was only one adjudicator because I think my partner is not here, so I deliberated this alone. So I'll basically tell you how my adjudicating speech is going to go. First off, I will be giving out the winners, and then I will be giving just a feedback as to why I made this decision lah. Okay, so in this debate, which is this House believes that AI should govern and oversee the country of Malaysia, this is a clear win for the opposition. So Team IIUM, congratulations, good job, guys. And Team Government, okay, try better next time. So now I'll go into why exactly I came up with this decision. So it's actually a very, very clear win for side opposition, for the main reason that they got the debate right lah. So I think the very important issues that needed to be focused on in this debate, the context of this debate is whether an AI system should be able to govern and oversee. To govern and oversee means that you have to talk about AI in the context of it leading a country. And this is the most important thing that I was looking for in this debate lah. On side government, a lot of issues that I saw was from this context, because there was very bad characterization and framing of this debate, where you did give arguments on how AI can help in the boosting of economies. The automation can definitely lead to better lives of people. However, I did not really see this very relevant to the motion, because it is not really talking about it in the context of whether AI should actually, because of these benefits, should be able to lead a country, because it's a very completely different context. What you said was more of a general benefit of AI, and that's why I could not really see the link between this one and what the motion wanted. On the other hand, opposition did a very good job, since the first speaker, first, second, and third speakers did very good job at in your structure of the arguments, when you gave very good analysis of why exactly AI is incompetent. Is not as competent as a human leader. I think that was mainly the bulk of your case, which what you were trying to say is AI might be good, but in the context of whether it can be compared with a human leader to govern and oversee a country, it definitely falls short. You gave very good arguments on how humans are definitely much better creatively, how we are much more in tune with culture, and because of this, it can really affect our judgment in terms of how we make decisions, our morality, etc. You also gave arguments that did not favor AI, where AI has inherent human biases. You did talk about the LinkedIn and Amazon examples, as well as Google software. And I felt this was very convincing on my side to credit you for this argument. Furthermore, you also talked about another shortcoming of AI, in which it is vulnerable to cyber attacks. And in the context of a country, like putting it in charge of a country, if it is vulnerable to this sort of attacks, if it's susceptible to being compromised in any sort of way, this will definitely not be good, because it's going to harm a country's image. It's going to harm the way a country functions. And because of this, I felt like this was a very clear win for side opposition. So yeah, that's why I gave it to you guys. So congrats, guys. Is there anything that you guys want to ask?
I think from our side, it's clear that we have been going through several training, and that's like an advantage for us. But for the government side, would you like to suggest on how can they improve?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yes, argument.
Okay. All right. So first off, government, on your side, first thing I would say is don't make your speeches too short, because as an adjudicator, I have to judge the debate based on what you are saying. I cannot make any decisions on my own. Like whatever I judge is based on what you say. And if you do not say enough, I cannot my brain cannot compute exactly how I'm supposed to link one thing to another. So one thing you should work on is the elaboration of your arguments. Make sure you are giving a lot of examples, a lot of analysis about how you are doing things. A good example is how side opposition did talk about the inherent human bias, when they talked about how LinkedIn and Amazon can have bias, and it has led to problems in the past. How Google, because of a racist programmer, it led to an employee getting fired. You see, these things can lead me to see, oh, actually, this is why it's bad. Like this is why it cannot be used this is why it cannot be used beneficially. So I can really see the linking in that. And one more thing you have to also see is making sure you get the debate right. And you can always get the debate right by looking at the motion. Always ask yourself during prep time, what is this debate about? What exactly do I, on my side, have to prove in this debate? Like for this, in the context of this debate, you have to talk about AI, yes, but you have to talk about why AI is so good that you can actually use it to replace human leaders, to govern and oversee a country of Malaysia. So whatever your arguments are coming from, it has to come from that side. You have to talk about why. You have to convince me as the educator as to why Malaysia really needs an AI instead of a human leader. Why it would rather, this can really supersede like the parliamentary sittings, why it can supersede our constitutional monarchy system. That was what I needed to see. So when you talked about arguments like how it can benefit the economy, I would rather you have talked about, okay, so it can benefit the economy because of, okay, let's say an argument you could have used is probably you could say that AI has better decision making. That will be on your side to prove. And because of this, it can probably be more rational and less emotional than humans. And this is very important in the context of a country that is suffering through a crisis like a COVID crisis. You would need something that could really make less emotional decisions, but make the best kind of decisions for a country. For me, that would be a lot more convincing than just saying, okay, it can machine learning is good, and because of this, it can boost an economy. For me, I cannot link that back to the motion. I cannot say, oh, because of this, for me on my side, because of this, I think that government is good because they are saying that because it can strengthen the economy, it should automatically take over a country. There's no link between that. And you have to make sure that you link your arguments properly so that I, as an adjudicator, can actually credit you for it. So yeah, just work on the elaboration of your arguments and making sure that you get the debate right. Because honestly, once you know these two things properly, you have a much better shot at winning a debate. So yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
No
you.
worries.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, guys. It's okay. Just work on it more, guys. It's all right. Probably your first time for everything. So yeah, congrats UIA. And yeah, Sarah, what do we do now? Do we leave?
Yeah. I was so concentrated listening to you guys. Okay, so yeah, with that ends the preliminary 3-room 2 of today's debate. We congratulate the winning team and extend our gratitude towards the honorable adjudicators as well as the committee. So thank you, everyone. Everyone can leave the meeting. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you for
guys.
attending. Good debate. Good debate.
Good debate, guys. See you all.
Thank you.
Congratulations.